How's it going, everyone? Oh, Fern's mic's open. There we go.
Oh, hello.
How's it going? Yeah. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, are still.
Unnecessary microphone noise.
And Wallace L, and I'm here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. Although, as far as weeks go, this one hasn't been particularly full of news and current events regarding the gaming industry. However, we'll mush on as always.
It's been pretty rubbish, let's face it.
First of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us emails at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, which is most easily accessed by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on our show logo on any of our recent show posts, which will take you directly to our Discord server, where you can post in our many channels and have arguments about disturbing and frivolous things with Serathis mostly.
Yes. Oh boy. So this week.
It was a week.
It certainly happened. I spent most of it working, and it occurred to me last night when I kind of laid down that I just finished the audiobook I was listening to. I started at the start of the week, which I only listened to during work hours. It was an 80-hour audiobook.
You should get some more drivers.
We've been trying. We're down to 2 at the moment because one's had to go off on holidays. But yeah,
There's one noped out of there because he realized your job's terrible.
Ugh. Yeah. So we on that note, actually, I do have a bit of a work story I can share. We had one of our drivers get held up with a knife the other day. You know, one of the absolute worst things that can happen in this job industry.
Your area doesn't seem to be very law-abiding, generally speaking.
Things do get played a bit loose with the laws, yes.
I thought the ATL was bad, man. You just open your business here and it'll be safer. That shouldn't be a sentence I ever say.
That is the wrong sentence. You should not say that one.
Like that should not be allowed.
But it all ended up working out very well anyway. It ended up being stupid. Essentially what she did is she mummed him. She turned the mum voice on him. Yeah.
Man, even your criminals suck.
Our criminals suck. And what's even the best part is, even at the end of that, after this whole thing, she's reported him to the police, and he still paid his fare at the end. She guilted him into paying the fare.
Your criminals are so bad at being criminals.
Yes, they are.
I don't know whether or not you should be ashamed of that.
Honestly, it's what should have been a really bad situation, and a situation that is a really big deal, but it was just so stupid. Like, this 15-year-old kid, and he thought he was the absolute bee's knees, the toughest business going on, and no, he's just ruined his life. And made an idiot of himself at the same time.
He didn't even... He wanted to lead a life of crime, and he didn't even have the cojones to stand up to being mummed at.
Nope. What's even funnier, actually, is he went back and told all the people he was staying with that, yeah, he held a knife to her throat, and he was the cool dude.
The cool dude who paid us cab fare.
Yeah. At least everyone else there, after they beat the ever-loving tar out of him, they appreciated the story, especially once the truth came out. Anywho, so...
How do you even manage to find such low-quality criminals?
I don't
15.
know. We found the absolute dregs in this one. So... as far as gaming goes this week, it's pretty much what I'm playing on stream right now, which is Warriors of Orochi 4, which is... it is kind of like Musou game of all Musou games. It is...
and somehow I talked him into buying it in the span of like 30 seconds.
It wasn't exactly a hard sell, no. It's like, it's Dynasty Warriors without the complete and utter garbage that was Dynasty Warriors 9, with 170 characters.
It's Dynasty Warriors without the historical accuracy. Now just chew on that sentence for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is the third Warriors Orochi game, even though they call it Warriors Orochi 4 because, I don't know, there's numbers. Numbers are hard, apparently.
The numbers are wrong for the main continuity of Dynasty Warriors as well.
They are. They very much are.
US, there's no consistency whatsoever.
Oops, what am I doing? I'm beating up the Quo sisters. That's what I'm doing. Ugh.
Huh.
I should really pay attention to what I'm doing, but it's all hack and slashy, glorious spectacle nonsense, and I love it. So, the story goes with this one is everything that happened in the previous games has been more or less forgotten about the other characters. They've gone back to their home world and had their brains wiped. And then Zeus turns up, and because he's a Greek god, he's an enormous dick. So he thinks, I'm going to throw...
A literal one?
Eh.
Or his legends are a little vague on that.
Thankfully, he's not the literal type this time. Whoops.
I've been seeing a lot of memes about that lately for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. It tends to come around. I'm doing bad at this game. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. So, Zeus turns up and says, okay, just for giggles, I'm going to smash Three Kingdoms China together again with Tokugawa-era Japan again. Because reasons, mostly for giggles.
Because these are two marketable warring states periods.
Exactly. So, Zeus just more or less wants to mash them together and just watch what happens, pretty much. I mean, he's a Greek god.
He's a Greek god staging a continental-sized cockfight.
Yes. Yes, he is. So Perseus turns up and says, no, none of that, and nicks a bunch of the bracelets he's using to make it, the Medusa bracelets, or the Ouroboros bracelets, made from Medusa's hair, because that's a thing. So yeah, that ends up with the worlds being smashed together. There are now... Chinese generals meeting samurai, meeting Greek deities, meeting, for some reason, a cyborg. Among other things.
Zeus sitting...
China.
Oh.
Yes, fighting Zeus's gigantic man boobs. So, take what you want from that.
Sitting up there on Olympus with his action figures. Fight, 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 kiss, kiss, kiss.
There's a good amount of kiss, kiss, kiss going on in this game. Yeah, things get very, very silly. Because, hey, historical accuracy goes out the window, so you've got characters who normally are supposed to be fighting on opposite sides, teaming up and becoming best friends. You've got, the god of war himself, Guan Yu, sharing out beard care tips.
Well, I mean, he does have a masterfully maintained beard.
His beard is a noble phantasm, yes. And you've got... Nobunaga turns up and he's kind of fills up the role of bad guy for a while. Why? Because he's a gigantic douchebag. That's it.
Facial hair to prove it.
Yes. His whole thing is he's being a douchebag because he's a douchebag.
He's a douchebag in most games.
Yeah.
He's like the way Cao Cao's usually portrayed with the moustache twirling turned up to 11 to 12.
Yeah, Cao Cao has characterizing moments sometimes. But then every now and again he'll just turn around and start twirling his moustache again for no apparent reason. Depending on which story you're playing. So yeah, historical accuracy, complete non-event. It just doesn't happen. Oh boy.
I mean, there are a lot of games featuring Nobunaga where he's basically like the literal devil.
Yeah, well, he is the demon general or something, isn't he? His historical title? Something along those lines, anyway.
Nobu in FGO calls herself the Demon King of the Sixth Heaven or something like that.
Yeah. And
that Nobu is even more ridiculous than average.
That Nobu is completely absurd and over the top. This one, he likes strength, he likes fighting, and everything else can just go to hell. I don't even know what I'm doing. Good grief. So, yeah, playing a Dynasty Warriors or a Warriors game, I suppose, and doing a podcast at the same time, it doesn't end well.
Yeah, I was streaming Fate Extella while I was playing last time. I died a lot.
Yeah. You don't tend to think too much about what you're doing when you're actually playing these games, but when you're trying to multitask while doing it, Yeah. It kind of shows up and makes his attention known, doesn't it? Anywho,
Because
so,
the core mechanic you need to do to maintain play in a Musou game is to count.
Yeah.
Because you need to know where to interrupt your combos.
Yep.
And you can't count very effectively while you are talking.
No, you cannot. So, with that, the unique features about this game over other Dynasty Warriors and other Warriors games. First and foremost is one of the big selling points on the Vox, 170 characters. As a lot of characters.
Man. Yeah.
It is almost the entire roster from Dynasty Warriors Extreme Legends, plus the entire roster from Samurai Warriors Extreme Legends, plus a whole bunch of Greek gods and a couple of original characters just to keep the story, I wouldn't say moving, it's just make it the story keep happening, I guess.
Keep the story stuffed.
Yes. So, unique features again on this game, aside from the 170 characters. Apparently there's also a season pass which is going to bring potentially more characters, so good luck with that. Yeah, it's getting a bit silly. You have 3 characters you play at the same time, and you can switch characters at any time, and that includes mid-combo. So you can potentially create enormously long, damaging combos by switching characters around.
Well, there's no need to worry about being balanced, so...
No. Being horrendously overpowered is kind of the appeal of these games. And the other one, other big feature on the back of the box is, as they very strangely say, this is the first time actual magic ends up in this game. Or in the series.
Well, it's the first time they've called it magic as opposed to strategy.
Yeah. Apparently being able to throw fireballs is a strategy, not magic. See, look at this nonsense. I'm throwing a huge wave of darkness out of the base of a sword because, see, Mashi. That's a strategy. That's not magic. So everyone, once they get to this strange new world, they find these mystic relics, which imbue or carry the power of a Greek god or Greek hero or whatever. So everyone will have one that is unique to them, but there is only about 8 that I've found, I think, so far. So things like a sword, the bow of Artemis, a pig, a piece of string. Yeah.
The gravity effects in this game look really wonky, even for a Musou game. There are a lot of effects that seem to pull enemies to a point from the trailer.
Yep.
And the models don't exactly like doing that when they leave the ground and are pulled in that direction.
No, they look very silly doing that.
They all look like they're grabbing their stomachs and about to hurl.
Yes.
That's pretty stock Dynasty Warriors, to be honest.
Yeah.
Being able to draw enemies to or from a point has always been a core mechanic of a number of characters, and it always looked ridiculous.
Yes, it has. So, with the introduction of the magic system, every character now has a draw like that. That is your base level magic, where the base level is shared between every character who uses that mystic relic, and it just draws everyone or all the enemies into combat. It's also a quick way to counter enemy magic. Then you have a heavy attack, which again is shared between all characters, which is usually some completely ridiculous spectacle happening. And then finally you have the Magic Musou, which more or less the character will combine the Mystic Relic with their usual weapon, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, since their usual weapons are pretty much Mystic Relics anyway.
Yeah. So, for example, I'll give you a couple of examples of the sillier ones. One character uses a piece of cloth as his weapon. So he kind of does all these summons and throws the cloth around, creates void zones and things with that. His mystic weapon is the pig. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it because it's completely horrendous to pronounce. So when he combines them together, he ends up doing a matador act in the middle of the battlefield with this stupid giant pig. You have the bow of Artemis is usually a pretty typical one. A lot of characters with swords will tend to crib from the Emir book and just fire their sword out of the bow, which is fine normally until Zahu Bah gets in on the act. Now he, for the most part, wields a giant rocket-powered sledgehammer. Oh, sorry, jackhammer. Yeah.
He fires a jackhammer from a bow.
He fires his giant freaking jackhammer from a bow. I don't think any of the characters I've got at the moment actually have any completely silly Musou combinations. No, they don't. So yeah, it is good fun. It plays beautifully. Well, mostly. One thing I don't like is characters also have a type. Like, the elemental system that was in 8 is gone. Thank goodness.
Why do they keep doing that? It doesn't add any depth. It just adds annoyance.
Yeah. In this case, you've got a technique, a power, and a speed type. Technique types are all about maintaining combos. Speed types are about getting around, of course, and racking up hits. Power types are about doing a lot of damage and blocking. They're the only type that can block. And it's really annoying. Where did Sun Jin come from? Hello. So yeah, when you're only about a third of the characters on the roster can, block attacks, it kind of gets annoying. Anywho, aside from that minor niggle...
Yeah, usually you don't want to be blocking in Musou games. Like, if at all possible, you want to maintain momentum.
Yeah. Blocking tends to break momentum, but when you see an enemy winding up for a Musou to attack and you can't get out of the way, that's your only other recourse.
I still almost never hit the block button.
I know.
I usually try and dodge.
Let me see, what else? Oh yes, the deification system. So, when you start out the story mode of this game, you only have 3 characters unlocked, and you're playing as them, doing a kind of a stock standard battle, and then Lu Bu turns up. And Lu Bu goes Super Saiyan.
As you do.
As you do. So it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the game. What he actually uses there is deification. So instead of using rage mode, some characters can deify, where they get infused with the power of a Greek god. And more or less just go completely and utterly Burko and nuts on this field. That usually means infinite magic, so you can just spam ridiculous attacks all over the place. It also means, in a lot of cases, a cosmetic shift, like they'll end up with a new costume. Except in one character's case where she gets infused with the power of Aphrodite and ends up in a chainmail bikini. Just because.
I see.
Makes sense to me.
Completely.
Fits the lore, gets a check mark.
Well, lore is established, yes.
Warriors Orochi is the only franchise with as loose a grasp of history as the Nesuverse.
Yeah. But what it does have is ham. Lots and lots of ham.
I like ham.
I do love ham. Like, there's no English voice acting in the game as of yet. It's all Japanese, but good grief, do they have some fun with it.
You bought it on PC, right?
I did, and so far I have not had any problems with it whatsoever. I've seen a few.
Have a new rig though.
New-ish. We've gone through this. It's kind of the my father's axe argument on this computer, but it runs fine. I haven't had any graphical hiccups. I haven't had the game crash for no reason, which Koei games tend to do occasionally. So, for once, they've actually put together a solid and functioning PC port. But that said, use a controller. Just don't play it with mouse and keyboard.
Who'd play a Musou game with mouse and keyboard?
People who hate themselves.
There are people. Game on PC must be playable with mouse and keyboard, and that needs to be the optimal way to play the game. These people are weird.
Oh dear. One other minor quibble, I guess, and it's more to do with how the game progresses, is you have a lot of characters. Like, look at this. This is the group of characters I've unlocked in the story mode so far. It's only about 50 or so. And I don't know how far along in the story I actually am, aside from, getting Nobunaga on my team. There he is. Look at that douchebag. Look how much of a douchebag he is. The only other problem is you've got to level them up one at a time.
Well, that's usually the way.
Yeah, so that's going to take a while. Oh, look, there's Sima Yi. I don't want Sima Yi. I want to beat the smug off Sima Yi.
He does have an awful lot of smug and stuff.
He has an excessive amount of smug.
So the street date for the PC version was earlier than it was for the console version, and I bought my copy on console.
Mm-hmm.
Which is to say, I paid for my copy on console, and it is still in the post, and will remain in the post, possibly indefinitely at the rate things are going. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get to play it soon because I got it for PS4.
Yeah.
On account of my computer as a toaster, and I didn't trust it to run it on Steam. And when I looked at the pricing, for me, the price to buy a physical copy and have it shipped to me was $1 cheaper than buying it on Steam.
You what?
Yeah. So I thought, you know what? I'll just wait.
You just wait? Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't for you, was it?
No,
Despite
it was.
We were both looking at the same online store, and we were both looking at Steam.
Yes, and Steam being Steam, for some reason in Australia, it still lists everything as US dollars. Nobody can figure out why or why it hasn't been changed.
Yeah, my brother's been complaining about that, actually.
It's stupid. It's pointless. Why? But even after accommodating for that, it was still cheaper to buy it on Steam and go that way instead of, buying it and importing it, or grey importing it. Not by much, it only is a couple of dollars, but there's also the benefit of not having to wait for my daily recommended injection of pure ham.
Well, you also have the Australian Postal Service.
Oh yeah,
it will probably arrive within the specified time period for me.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it could arrive at any old time.
Presumably, assuming it hasn't been eaten by spiders or something.
I'm still convinced that in Australia, they just tie packages to a dingo and then just let it go.
Out in this region? Yeah, pretty much. What other things was worth talking about on this? That's largely it, although there is one other mechanic, which is the what do they call it now? It's a reputation bar, as you can see at the bottom of each character portrait here. And that will get you a little interaction between each character. Some of which are kind of cool. It's like giant generals talking, tactics and strategy, or history and things like that, or history in gigantic air quotes. And then sometimes it's gag reel territory. Like this guy here. Where is he? There he is. Yeah, Masamune Date. Kind of a big deal historically. Gets his squee on. He also looks like a pirate for some reason. He's got a cavalry saber and a flintlock pistol.
He's the one-eyed dragon.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with pirates. He does have the eye patch, though.
Innuendo everywhere. Just gonna leave you with that. Somebody else can make the joke.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Let's not. Oh dear. So yeah, just look at these character designs. It tells you everything you know when you've got, here you go, Sao Ren, he's a freaking Spec Marine.
Well, he's always been a Spec Marine.
Yeah, he has. Or, let me see, where was he? Kojiro Katakura, blah. He actually looks like he belongs in Final Fantasy 15. He's got the douchey glasses and everything. So yeah,
well, he's an adjutant type, so
yeah. But yeah, like douchey glasses. That's a cyborg, and I've actually unlocked him now, and he is in fact a cyborg.
They had those in medieval China, right?
Totally. It's up there, with the where is he? Deng Ai. Where is he? There he is. He's got a minigun. Yeah, totally ancient Chinese minigun. Yeah, history doesn't really apply anymore, does it? So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. It's a great game, and if you like any sort of complete and utter nonsense, also Musu, then buy it. Definitely get it. What else did I do for my week? Nothing. It was all work. It was pain.
Work is terrible.
80+ hour week.
I did not have an 80+ hour week. I'm still not happy.
No.
I will have one of those this week. I'm not looking forward to it.
Nope. Let me see if I can find some characters to put up on screen who have really silly animations. Anyway, Vol, your week, sir.
My week doesn't really contain anything very much. It was a pretty busy week for me as well, largely because they had set up the roster at work in a pretty derpy way, so that there were no senior staff present in the lab. Like, they just weren't, which invariably means that I have to run around pretending to be senior staff and dealing with everybody's problems.
Oh, yay.
Despite the fact that I'm not paid to do that. But somebody's got to do it, or everything will break down, and I'll end up staying even later than I already have to. So, yeah, not especially pleased by the way things are going at the moment. But this coming week, I'm rostered in media for half the week, which is like, it's hard work. It's like brutally hard work, and the work environment is horrible because you can't turn on you're in the same room with the autoclave, so it's hot as heck, and you can't turn on the ventilation because it will blow dust into the media. So it's like working in a sauna. But it also doesn't require you to constantly be frantic the way working in the labs do. So I hope that even though I'm going to have to learn a lot, since I haven't actually worked in media proper before, I'll at least get a little bit of mental relaxation in because I won't have to constantly be switching gears to deal with everybody's problems. So, yeah. So what did I do this week? As usual, I played a whole bunch of FGO, although I think that I didn't do as much in FGO as Ari did.
Yeah.
Has been eating so many golden apples that he must have permanent diarrhea by now.
Oh, I'm out of them. I ate literally all of them. I said what I was going to do. I said I would get caught up, and I would just eat all the apples, and I ate every single one of them, and I had like 60 plus.
It's a lot of apples.
That's a whole lot of apples.
But yeah, so the time that I spent in FGO, most of it I committed to one of two things: either getting XP for my characters, which would have a bonus in the next event, which is the proper Halloween event for this year. Since there are a few that have bonus damage, namely Saber Liz has bonus damage, and as far as servants I have, Robin Hood has bonus damage, and Nita Chris has bonus damage.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few others that do as well. I don't remember offhand what they are, other than Cleo is one of them, and Vlad III is one of them, and Ibaraki Doji is one of them. I think there's another one, but I'm not sure. They have bonus damage during the as well, so I want them at a high enough level, because at the sort of when a character has event bonus damage, it's usually plus 50%, and if the character is like the main character of the event, usually plus 100. So it's a really hefty increase, to the point that it basically, you can dispense with strategy for that servant in favor of sheer type advantage, because the amount of damage you do is so spectacular. So I wanted them prepped for that, but I spend a lot of time with the story as well. I've gotten Best Kohai up to 4-star status. Haven't upgraded to Noble Phantasm yet, but yeah, it was a rough road. Some of those bosses are pretty tough. Even now that I've got a good roster, I have to spend quite a bit of time planning out the course of the fight before I stick my face in it. But yeah, mostly everything has gone according to plan so far, even though I've had to use some pretty suboptimal choices. Like against Lancelot, the only thing I had worth a damn was Beowulf, and Beowulf is not very good.
That's Saber Lancelot?
Yeah.
Not Zerkalot. Okay.
Not Zerkalot. Yeah, the only thing I had worth a damn against him was Beowulf, because the special power that Lancelot has as a boss in Camelot is he has he's got a special typing, which is similar to a ruler, in that all of the normal classes deal half damage to him. The only exceptions in this case, though, are Berserkers. They deal their normal 150% to everything, and actually, I think that's the only exception. I don't know that Avengers even have a bonus. They might do. I'm not sure, because I don't have any to test it. So, and all classes take normal damage from him, I think, except for archers, and Berserkers take double, of course. But yeah, I think that's how it goes. Or is it they all take 150%? At any rate, it's a monstrous fight where all of the normal typing rules are thrown out of the window. So basically, the most obvious strategy, which is the one that I shot for in the end, was to get a single target Berserker and blow the crap out of him on the first turn, and then hope that you can survive long enough to chip away the rest of his health. Because he does not have a small health pool. His health pool is big.
Oh dear.
Like over 400k. So
yeah, the health pools are starting to get a bit silly at that point in the game.
Oh, they get much sillier to the point that they end up with multiple bars.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, so I got through him. But I think Tristan was arguably worse, because he had a really obnoxious type where he's normally an archer, but his special ability inverts his typing, so you needed to bring sabers to fight him, and he deals bonus damage to everything, pretty much. Like, it was kind of obnoxious, and it was another one that in the end I decided that the best way to deal with him was simply to jump down his throat and obliterate him as fast as humanly possible, which was tough, given that my sabers, I don't have any 5-star sabers, and my 4-star sabers aren't very highly skilled. But the fact that I was fortunate enough to get two copies of Nero during the Nero Fest event meant that Nero's Noble Phantasm hit hard enough to make a difference. In the order of, like, against a weakness, like 100k damage almost. So yeah, well, with all the buffs that I was stacking on it. So, and I've got Rama as well. So although I'm not really ideally set up to do a fight like that, it was good enough to get through it. And although it usually got pretty close because the sheer amount of damage Tristan does, and it seems that pretty much every one of the knights of the round that you fight has some capacity to spontaneously charge their Noble Phantasm.
Oh joy!
Not as bad as Mordred's. Mordred's is the worst, where Mordred will just Noble Phantasm every turn. And so, like, you can only take Clarent to the face so many times. There's just no way around it. You need to close out that fight quickly, or you're toast.
Yeah,
because that was their logic at that point in time with encounter design, was just make it brutally hard by making it harder and harder for you to work out ways to survive. But because that particular line of thinking ended up with Merlin becoming, like, ultimately dominant, since you could just bust a crit everything into oblivion.
Stupid dick wizard.
They've sort of moved in the direction of protracted fights now, rather than fights where you just take, a Noble Phantasm to your team every turn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm enjoying the story very much. They've had a big info dump. A lot of stuff has been revealed. A lot of stuff has been hinted at where I am at in Camelot so far. I've made pretty decent progress through the story. Not all the way there yet, but it's gotten very interesting. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it all animated, because it's hard to digest the barrage of information. Ran into the designated exposition mouthpiece character, but yeah, it's been quite fun, and it still had the characteristic of the Fate franchise, wherein the level of seriousness oscillates wildly.
Yeah.
You can't really get your bearings very easily. It always seems like you're either in a situation where everything is serious or nothing is. Like the rate of cooldown between like we're fighting for our lives against Lancelot to we're now having slapstick comedy time with Lancelot was a very, very short span of time.
He's trying to kill us,
Ugh.
and now he's trying to just, I don't know.
There's a point in Okeanos where just Kiyohime and Liz show up, and they just literally contribute nothing to the story. And right after you finish their mission, it cuts away to their characters and just in parentheses says did nothing, and cuts to the other one and in parentheses goes did nothing.
Yeah. They just turn up to make a nuisance of themselves, and that's it.
They say a few rando lol Liz and Kiyohime lines and leave.
Yes.
That's all they do.
Oceanus is a pretty silly
Wasn't
chapter
it-
all up.
Wasn't that in Septum?
No,
Did they do that in Okeanos
thought
as well?
I don't know. I did it
Yeah.
all in one burst, and I don't remember anything that actually happened in Septum, but I thought it was at the Labyrinth in Okeanos where it happened. I thought it was on top of the Labyrinth. I might be wrong.
Something like
It
that.
was in that ballpark. Doesn't matter. Septum was a
Liz-
flop
Liz-
anyway.
Liz shows up so often that it's hard to keep track.
She just turns up
Yeah.
out of nowhere, usually does nothing, and leaves.
Yeah.
I just remember the parentheses bracket that said did nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you say she usually does nothing, but she usually gets the opportunity to sing at least.
Ugh.
I'm not a Liz fan at all.
Nobody
I am a
is.
huge Liz fan.
For all the wrong
I-
reasons.
I think she's absolutely adorable, and I feel bad that nobody likes her singing. But I think that she's quite entertaining. I mean, she is like one of the designated butt monkeys. Like, if
Yeah.
you've played Fate Extella, then you basically see that no matter how nefarious she tries to be, she's her own worst enemy,
Yeah.
and that's always the way for her.
She becomes scary at least when she grows into Camilla. But-
Yeah, but she hates she hates Camilla. Like,
Yes.
she doesn't want to be Camilla.
Yeah, I thought that was like her whole story was she doesn't want to be crazy vampire lady.
Yeah.
Well, Camilla has similar feelings about Liz and is
Yes.
deeply ashamed of her shameful past. Like, for Camilla looking at Liz is like Ari looking at his old fanfiction.net account.
I could sympathize.
That's
with
cruel.
Camilla in a lot of ways. I totally get that, girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you didn't go off on a murder torture binge.
I don't know. We still got a few years yet.
Eh.
Could happen.
I still think that peak ridiculous is probably still e pluribus unum. Like, there's just no excuse for the stupidity of some of the stuff that goes on there.
I still got to sit down and actually finish playing through that.
Yeah, I decided to just go free quartz collecting for Cleo. So I stopped at Murica.
Murica.
I just finished getting all the free quartz in London.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I keep meaning to, but then I'm like, but I could continue the story because Japan has entered a phase now where you need to be up to date with the story in order to participate in events. Period.
That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, but it's sort of necessary because they are in a position where their hands are sort of tied on what characters they can use for things and how much like references to the backstory and the lore they're able to use if they keep saying, "Oh, the only thing you need to clear is Fuyuki."
Yeah.
So
Is it
Yeah.
like up to date, or are they just saying you need to finish the first batch of 7 singularities or whatever?
no, up to date. Like, you need to have cleared all the way through Lost Belt 2 or whatever.
Okay.
Like, you need to be full serious up to date now. That's where they're going.
Yeah, I can understand that. I suppose, like even in the Americans version, it says you have to have done Fuyuki, but the characters will be referencing stuff that's happened in other chapters.
Yeah, and oftentimes it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense at all if you haven't.
To be fair, half the time for those events, it doesn't even make sense in context.
That's also true. Yeah. So they're going that way. So Japan's starting like their Halloween event soon. Oniland.
Yep.
Which is features Shuten Doji as the welfare, a special version of Shuten Doji.
Okay.
Is like she's the attempt to lure non-lollicons to the dark side character.
Yeah, I'm half expecting this event to end up with a giant killer banana.
It's entirely possible, and it would be entirely true to form.
Yep.
But,
yes, it would.
Yeah.
I
She's
thought
got a really, really cool Noble Phantasm, though, this version of Shuten Doji.
Neat.
I thought it was Ibaraki that was the banana.
She is.
Ibaraki isn't it? But Ibaraki's usually following Shuten around.
Where one goes, the other is usually not too far away.
Like, formally speaking, like, Shuten Doji is Ibaraki's boss, but Ibaraki's, like, raw potential as an Oni power type is much, much higher than Shuten's. It's just that she's basically a stupid kid, so she can't use her power very well.
She's a royal brat.
Yeah, that's sort of her thing. But,
yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people are excited for the 5-star that's accompanying that banner, though, which is a version. It's like a I think it's an Ainu god that has incarnated itself using Ilya's Veil von Einsburn's body. The Ilya from the Fate franchise, the main Fate franchise, not the Prisma Ilya one. So a lot of people are excited for that to get quote-unquote real Ilya. Although I'm sure they'll be disappointed since she's not the sociopathic Ilya that you usually see, and is more like the slightly more tempered one from Heaven's Feel. I also finally, I nutted up. I did my grinding. I cleared Shining Resonance immediately before the show. The grinding was sort of rough because my characters were sort of like level 35, and the quest that I needed, the story event had level 60 something enemies that I needed, the 2 that I hadn't trained to do.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. It's the only time in the game, where you suddenly get given 2 characters and you have no flexibility in how you use them. You've just got to use them, and that was tough. I ground them to about 50-ish before running out of patience, and then I just bought like the shop's worth of items, and then because all I needed really to do is get to the point where the level was close enough to the enemies, as I got within about 10 levels, where I wouldn't get one shot every time I started the fight, and then from there I was just, so long as the 2 characters never got one shot at the same time, I could use items to res the other one or whatever. And eventually, it was a very long fight since I was doing so little damage relative to their health pools, but I got there in the end. And then the game was basically a pushover after that, because I did decide to farm for items that allowed me to use EXP leak on the not in battle ones. So I used my main party I was accustomed to do the training up, so to speak, of the characters that I was going to be forced to use. But the side effect of that was that the end of game boss was a bit trivial. Like, I had gotten to the point where it was relatively reasonable for me to just, run about and pelt him until he was dead, and then it wasn't really a big deal. It was a suitably ostentatious final boss, but not. Well, when I said that it was a game that was one standard unit JRPG, that held all the weight. Because, how do I sum this up without spoilers? You go to space and fight a giant dragon, and then you win.
Of course you do.
And there's also like an 11th hour 11th hour revelation that, oh well, the evil god is actually like some piece of machinery that destroys the Earth's natural balance or whatever.
Are you sure you weren't playing Phantasy Star? Because that's Phantasy Star.
Well, the thing is that that's also like all the Tales games.
It is also all the Tales games, yes.
Like, this is what I mean when I say it was one unit standard JRPG.
Yep. Incidentally, it's also half the Final Fantasies as well.
Did you go to space? Did you fight something in that
well,
space?
It wasn't. It was. I went through a portal and I ended up on a castle that floats high in the sky that you can't access by any normal means.
Yep, that sounds about
sealed
right.
in a by a dragon.
Of course.
So you went to space.
Yes, I went to space.
Oh dear.
Because you always got to go to space.
Gotta go to space.
Yeah. Space.
Space. Yeah, so that's not exactly a new plot for JRPGs at all.
No, it is the JRPG plot, the ubiquitous JRPG plot.
Now I want to go
The
play
plot
Phantasy
is
Star
the
4
RPG
again.
is.
That game was great.
I also saw somewhere that it has been just recently. It has been exactly 5 years since the projected PSO2 Western release date.
Oh, the one that's coming soon.
Yeah.
Why do this, Sega? Do you hate money and success?
Instead, they had to invest in making the worst promotional anime of all time for PSO2.
Oh, that was bad.
It was such a horrible show.
It was
So
terrible. The
bad.
best
it's
bit,
just like completely wooden.
the best bit about it was the stupid little dance that played over the closing credits.
That's true.
It was stupid and adorable, but everything else was just bad. Oh, but what else do they do? They've done things like the Hatsune Miku crossover event because why not?
Yeah. Like there's more PSO2 in English on Project than there is in PSO2 in English.
Yes.
So
Oh look, there's
Yeah.
Zhao Yun. I was wondering when the box art fairy would turn up.
I'm really sort of curious, as I suppose a lot of people are, as to what exactly their beef with bringing it over is. I mean, now it's probably because nobody would care.
Yeah, it's
There
kind
are
of a running
couple of
meme at
years
this point.
there are a couple of years there where they could have gotten traction with it, especially since the MMO space is so freaking vacuous now. Like, there's World of Warcraft or Go Home.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's even trying to compete anymore.
Holy crap, I'm beating up Kratos. It's actually a guy called Kratos.
But
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, I finished that. It had the sort of ending that you expect. It was satisfying in the sense that it was a JRPG ending to a JRPG game.
Bad guy
Hit the right
dies,
beats.
good guys win, everybody lives happily ever after.
Yeah, main character got the girl of his choice in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I chose the princess because, I mean, if you've got a princess available, why not choose? But yeah, I had several of the others unlocked I could have gone for, but I could just use my clear data to play through. I'm probably not going to play through the game again because even though all the refrain mode content is in, playing would require me to play through again. Like, there's no New Game Plus option, and honestly, I think New Game Plus is pretty much mandatory for RPGs because I know there are people who like to play through JRPGs multiple times, so I can't be bothered with the grinding twice. Like, it's too much. I don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like-
so that's done with what you're saying.
Oh, I was going to bring up the Tales New Game Plus, where they let you pick what you want to bring into New Game. You can
Yeah,
bring
I don't-
whatever the heck you want.
I don't mind that. Even though you usually need to spend some kind of currency for it in a lot of cases, or you need to have met certain conditions in games that use that one. Like, the Shin Megami Tensei ones are particularly brutal about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to spend points that you get from accomplishing various things. in
Devil
order to
Survivor
get certain
2.
features.
you need to like beat certain super bosses to get enough points to be eligible to do whatever they want you to in the new game plus. Like, you need to spend their currency to unlock other super bosses, or choose to carry over your compendium or its levels. You don't have enough currency for all of it. That's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm done with that now. I'm free to start Berseria, which from all accounts is a much better game. But I don't regret playing Shining Resonance. I just feel like at every stage it was a little bit less polished than it should have been, and missed the mark of living up to its potential at every stage. Like they tried to theme everything musically, but in the end it just didn't work because they didn't lean hard enough on that theme. They tried to do too much of a paint by numbers JRPG while trying to layer a theme loosely over top, and it's just not.
Yeah,
it wasn't executed very well. Like the whatchamacallit, the games in the Arch and Alico series do it much better. Like it is very, very clear in that setting that everything in the setting revolves around music and functionally linked to music at an absolute level. Like you can see it in every aspect of the way the game works, as opposed to just they sing sometimes. So yeah, but yeah, I'm excited to play Berseria because I felt like the Berseria promotional advertisement that was the anime was one of the best parts of that series.
Oh, the random 4 episodes or whatever it was in the middle of the Zestiria anime?
Yeah.
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 I actually really enjoyed that. I thought it was exciting and well done. I kind of wish that that's what the anime was actually about, because the rest of it was, yeah. I thought I didn't hate the anime. In broad terms, I thought that it could be better in various ways, but I didn't hate it. But from all accounts, it sounds like it was better than the the actual game. So I don't know.
Yeah. The Zestiria anime takes a lot of liberties in a lot of places. Oh.
Yeah.
Are they bad liberties or good liberties?
But
I don't know. I don't know if I've sat down and finished it or not. I can't remember.
I see.
Is that bad?
I don't think it's that bad, and there are some really cool moments in it. I hear the characterization is way off compared to the game in certain respects, but yeah, I don't know. I think that it was reasonably enjoyable when I watched it, but the Berseria part was the coolest. Like, I know that they were just going for cool factor because it was basically an advertisement, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So
yeah.
The dragon is not quite that big. The prison breakout scene, as it was in the promotion material.
Do they ever address the completely unhealthy way that Violet addresses her brother's death? I mean, that's kind of slightly creepy.
Her whole character. That's part of her whole character arc. So yeah.
Yeah. I got to go back and finish that game.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Actually, I think I got to start it again because that was a computer ago now, apparently.
Yeah, Velvet's unhealthy way of dealing with a lot of things is her character arc.
Yeah, Velvet is not exactly the most well-adjusted individual.
No, and it comes back to bite her in the butt a lot of times.
Yeah.
But to be fair, she has pretty good reason to not be very well adjusted after what happened.
Yeah, that was kind of messed up.
Oh, dearie me.
I'm seeing missed opportunity in this game now. Why? We got all these. I'm fighting the Greek god army, so everyone looks like an angel, a kind of crappy angel, but still an angel. But there's all these characters turning up with, well-known historical names, like Sharon turning up. Why can't we have a whole, River Styx themed character with that, instead of just, the generic placeholder officers? Also Kratos. I mean, crossover potential right there.
Now, listen to yourself. You've got a game with 170 characters and you're whinging that there aren't enough characters.
I'm just missing... Well, okay, yeah. I see your point.
But sometimes you may be asking too much.
I know, but now I'm kind of thinking the potential of a Greek mythology themed Musu game.
You just want Dad of War and Musu.
We could have a beard off between him and Guan Yu.
Oh, dearie me. There are people making noise upstairs.
Yeah. Random noises.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, I did that. Presently, during the show, I'm playing Destiny, even though I don't want to. It's just that I didn't have anything else ready at the time. So
Yeah.
I'm playing Destiny, even though I can't level up. But, you know, we discussed on the show, Ari and I discussed on the show last week, you know, before we segued into talking completely about boobies.
I can't leave you two alone for 5 minutes, can I?
No, it's
No.
not safe. You should never do it again.
Don't
Ever.
do it.
But yeah, so we discussed how it was a really dumb idea for Bungie to try and do the old school World of Warcraft thing and sell a series of expansions to people that you have to buy one after the other in order to get caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the things that made me note out of it just entirely, because I didn't want to spend a whole mountain of money to get expansion after expansion, most of which are bad and content that is out of date and I won't care about.
Yeah.
So, but Ari said that, oh no, Bungie have decided that that was actually a stupid idea, so they're packaging
No,
everything
really?
together as a bundle.
By all accounts, how they advertise this just meant you buy Forsaken, you get the other X packs.
That is technically true, except what they're asking you to pay now is $70.
Yes. Instead of, what was it, 40?
Yeah, like this was like, oh, these things are irrelevant content now. We'll just give them to you for free. That's how it was advertised.
That ain't how it be.
That ain't how it be. That's what WoW does, yeah, mostly. But yeah,
But-
they just get away with it by
So-
slowly increasing the price of expansions each time.
So paying $70 does not get you the base game if you happen to lack it. People who had PS Plus don't lack it, but if you happen to lack it, that $70 does not include the base game. It does include the two previous expansions as well as the new one, Forsaken, the one that Ari testified was relatively good. And
It's not a high
It
bar
does
to
not-
pass that though.
it does not include their quote annual season pass unquote, which is a concept that makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Yes, it does.
Like this means that what you are actually doing is you are making a freemium subscription game
yeah,
where you still have to pay for expansions.
a lot.
Like they
And
get you
loading
coming and they get you coming and going there. Like this is the most cynical mainstream MMO that I have seen in quite some time.
Yeah,
Like, it's basically unacceptable to give them money from my point of view because you are encouraging the worst kind of anti-consumer behavior.
like when people were posting about, oh, they're gonna package it together, it's gonna be great. Even the fans with the release of this, I've only seen foreign reactions. I haven't looked at the prices in the US, but even people that actually like Destiny 2, not like a couple things about it and have a whole lot of reservations about it like I do. Like people that actually liked the game, this when the pricing finally came out. Like they're like, well, we were going to get our friends to play this game, but you decided to not charge a reasonable price for your game.
Because I was willing to give them a second chance. Like if it was like a $30 expansion or something,
Yeah,
then I was willing to give them a second chance. I'm not willing to give them a second chance.
I think
Yeah, $30
I don't think it was-
expansion, I would have jumped in and joined it and played with it because, hey, I've got friends playing it. It suddenly makes it a lot more appealing.
yeah.
But no, they want me to pay $70, most of which is irrelevant content. You must be kidding.
Yeah, I was already on my way out the door, and that makes it so that it's completely unapproachable by people I know. So the door is closed. I think I'm donezo.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they could draw that conclusion unless what is actually happening is that they manifestly have people who are willing to spend a staggering amount of money to play this game. Like they're just they don't see money as an object. They just want to play Destiny so badly.
I don't know.
Like, that seems really, really bizarre to me because it's not that great. But yeah, I guess that's how people must feel. They must think it's worth that much. They're certainly treating it like it is.
Please stop.
So yeah, I was ready to give them a second go. Once I heard that they were bundling it, because I thought that irrelevant content would also be an irrelevant purchase, but no, the dollars that content is worth is a very relevant purchase as far as they're concerned.
That is not a small number. That is a big number.
But their content's bad. It's not worth honestly even $1 to pay for the content that you get in between Point Destiny and Point Forsaken.
Yeah, but you said Forsaken was good, and I was willing to pay a modest expansion price because let's be real, they're calling it an expansion, but it's really more like a big patch.
At least it has a new planet you can get on your speeder and zoom around and explore stuff in.
Yeah, well, so do WoW patches. So
yeah, but that's a step up from Mercury, which is just one single public event on a planet that's so tiny they don't even let you use your speeder.
Yeah.
Like, who thought that was a good idea?
I'm. They had a chance to get me back, and I'm impressed at the spectacular degree to which they fumbled it completely. It would have been so easy to suck me back in because I was looking for something to do, but no, they're incompetent. They don't know what they're doing.
It has a multiplayer map called Dune that you can listen to the Dune audiobook in while you're doing Crucible grinding. That's about all it's good for.
Yeah.
Did you ever get around to reading that, by the way, Fern? You said you were going to.
I was going to. I'll pick that up now that I've finished this other audiobook. I just wanted to go back through Superpowered's Year 4 again because the entire back quarter of that book is almost entirely fighting.
I see. Oh, right. I had that on the to-buy list as soon as my credits put back up. You recommended that to me.
I do. I just recommend I will point out that the first book, it's still good, but it is a little bit has a few kind of inconsistencies. So, just keep that in mind. Yeah. Particularly because the characters haven't really grown at this point and are terrible.
But yeah, the only thing Destiny's worth remembering is I listened to Dune while playing Dune on the map called Dune.
Was that poetically satisfying in some way?
I think so. I went out of my way to make the pun in my head, so it must have been a thing. Anyways, but no, that's all Destiny's got.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, I was willing to like it, and I was willing to try it, and they were willing to, try and scam me out of my money for a big sum.
Yeah.
Like it cost me less than that to order Warriors of Orochi 4. Mm-hmm. Like that was basically like a double underline in red for this is a bad deal. Was that like I could buy an entire new game to have fun with, I could buy a small expansion to a game that I'm blah about. Like you're mad. You must be mad. Or maybe there's just Bungie just have that class of diehard fans who will defend anything they do, no matter how absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that was a thing, or rather, it was a thing that was pointedly not a thing in the end.
Thing that insisted on not being a thing by being insulting.
Right. So in other things, I expressed tentative optimism about Sword Art Online's new season.
That was a mistake.
Week. Yes, it was a mistake. They went right back to the well. They undid all of the things that could have been potentially interesting, and they went right back to the well. And Kirito's just as bad as he ever was. And you have to put up with him all the time. My goodness. I'm barely able to conceive of how they can go so far backward from exploring potentially interesting topics. Like, I know metaphysics is hard, guys, but you were onto something interesting that nobody had bothered to explore in fiction before in proper detail. But instead, you decided it would be easier just to, make Kirito a cardboard hero again. So, he's inserted into this other world. He's got all of his memory back. So all of that prior interesting separation of the experiences of his two selves is gone now, completely obliterated. And the thing that really stuck out to me, though, other than the like extreme levels of groan that I was experiencing and being subjected to Kirito the hero again, since he's a peasant guy whose job was wood chopping, but he's also got like super sword skills now because reasons. Okay, so basically they have developed an in-universe bastardization of the digital physics theorem and the mind-body problem of consciousness, which they're referring to as flux lights. And flux lights are basically think of it as like quantum souls.
Flux lights.
Flux lights.
Flux lights. Right.
Yeah. The idea is basically like, because in one of the prominent current theories of consciousness, there are structures, quantum structures in the brain called microtubules that do quantum calculation basically, and they activate as they function as an interface for the mind with the brain, because since we now know that most likely matter is emergent from consciousness rather than the other way around, like our perception of the world around us is illusory in the sense that it's real, but it's just an interpretive lens that our soul is actually experiencing. The mind is not part of the meat sack in our head. The mind is something that uses the mind is a data structure that uses the meat sack in our head as an interface engine.
Right.
So the interface socket are things called microtubules, which are basically a quantum computation horizon where you can turn data into what we actually perceive as stuff. They interpret this in Sword Art Online as microtubules are basically tubes in the brain that are full of light, and the light is your soul.
Right.
Which is, for pop culture efforts is not actually too bad.
No.
but it's still a bit crude. But the thing that really stuck out to me is Kirito's business, since he's like famous in the sort of the cyberpunk academia underworld that exists in his setting. He's sort of famous as one of the survivors.
Of course he's famous.
Sword Art
He's
Online.
Kirito.
But all of them are famous, but since he's the one who won and he got involved with the Death Gun case and all that sort of thing, he gets sort of like flagged to do testing on new systems, and the new system that he's in, he understands sort of like loosely how it works, and that it's supposed to be able to read and write the flux light layer of consciousness, which, laying aside the fact that that's nonsensical.
Yes.
The NPCs in the game that behave like real people, he refers to them as artificial flux lights, and they are supposedly generated by cloning a newborn's soul, copying the flux light data content, and raising them inside a virtual world, so they only know that virtual world, basically. So they are souls that live in that other world, in the computer. Which, laying aside its incoherency, is one of the most horrifying things that I've ever heard.
Yeah, the whole moral element of that is frightening.
Kirito, it doesn't even occur to Kirito that there's anything morally incongruous about this.
Right.
Which is scary, because it means it doesn't occur to the author that there's anything morally incongruous about this. Like, that's really horrifying to me. Like, that is cyberpunk dystopia distilled, basically.
Yeah,
like,
we're just going to enslave a baby's soul and see absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And the thing is, it's interesting from a thematic viewpoint. Like, you could do stuff with that.
Yeah.
You could do stuff. There's real potential there as far as writing is concerned. But the fact that Kirito doesn't see anything reprehensible about it, doesn't even see it as a moral question, makes me think that the writer won't see it that way either, and therefore all of the interesting ground that he could tread there, basically wasted.
Of course. I think Gun Gale Online was just some sort of weird anomaly at this point.
Like, I think that Gun Gale Online probably it earned a certain amount of kudos simply from the fact that people were relieved that it wasn't Fairy Dance again.
Yeah.
And the fact that Shinon is so much more appealing as a heroine than Asuna has probably helped. But
that's not hard. Asuna is about as appealing as a piece of wood.
Well, that's like I've said before. Asuna's entire character arc happens off screen.
Yeah.
You never see it.
Yeah.
Because all of her coming out of her complete, blue screen of death that she went into, came out of, went into again, and then came out of again. That all this stuff happens off screen, and she's just 1 unit Mary Sue by the time she comes out.
Yeah.
And appears again in Sword Art Online. Whereas, you see the entire Shinon character arc on screen in Gun Gale Online, and that's why she works as a character and why people love her as a heroine, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my goodness, I'm being pursued by something horrible, which just one-shot me.
Oh dear.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, you go Gun Gale Online, and then you got moral. I don't even know what to call it at this point. It's that is a reprehensible act. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that you would need to explore so much about, what's the nature of the soul? Why is it ethically horrible? What value is there to a soul that makes it that way? Because he's obviously operating in a highly materialistic environment. So how is it justified to be okay? How do you reach the idea that it is not okay? And what does that mean for the individuals inside it? What are their rights, since they're just digital information? You could attack it from so many angles, and I have a strong feeling that the writer is about to ignore them.
There's so much cool stuff you could do with that. I just read a book where the character ends up becoming digitized and is stuck into a von Neumann probe, and there is a good long discussion about his rights as an individual. Although there's also a lot about the collapse of the American government in there as well.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of thematic headroom to work with the ideas they've got in play, and it will be very gratifying if they decide to use them. But from what I've seen of the writer in the past, there is no reason to believe that he will use them.
Yeah. Fertile ground for some really cool story elements, some really cool philosophical elements, and it's wasted.
Yeah, well, it's possible that it might bear fruit. It's not impossible. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible, because there's always been sort of undercurrent, there's been always a single, almost invisible thread of a proper cyberpunk undercurrent to Sword Art Online, based around what was it that was actually the bad guy of Sword Art Online's true grand vision. What was he aiming for? Because he never really explained it.
Yeah, it basically boiled down to he did it for giggles, but that doesn't seem like the whole thing.
Through Fairy Dance, he dubbed himself into Fairy Dance as a copy of himself, which is sort of like a primitive version of what they're trying to do with the Fluxlight project.
Right.
And it sort of implied that he had a grand sort of cyberpunk vision of being able to copy souls or something. There was some great paradigm shift that he was reaching for in the understanding of human consciousness. So there's that undercurrent in there, Ghost in the Shell style undercurrent, that has never been properly explored. I don't know that the writer's got the chops to do it.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see on that count. At any rate, the way the story manifests on the surface level is still more of Kirito the hero, which is almost entirely unpalatable to most people at this point.
Yeah, it's garbage, especially since we've seen how good it can be once Kirito is out of the way. But
it's garbage, but it's the sort of appealing isekai garbage that tends to still sell well. This is why we've got not just a market for isekai stories, but a secondary market of stories about isekai stories, like Recreators.
Yeah, they ended up getting incredibly meta.
Recreators is an isekai story about isekais.
Yes.
It's weird.
It's also incredibly good.
And then there are other ones, there's that one that started off truly horribly. What was it called? It's like A Little Sister Is All I Need or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, good grief, that one.
That started off really horribly and then became a really interesting sort of look into the lives of what it's like to be a pop
You're a manga sensei?
writer. No, not that one.
No, because that was
No,
awful.
no,
that
not
was
that one.
that was trash
Not
all the
that
way
one.
through.
That was Garden Variety. That was a Garden Variety brother sister romance.
Yeah.
But
No. Bad for bad.
I've reminded you that exists.
at any rate, the one that I'm speaking of, it became a really interesting look at the writing process for people who are pop writers, and the highs and lows of success and failure in that market. But that was also a story about a guy who writes isekai stories, and you get through that story, because that story was written to be very sort of relatively true to life in the sense of like what the process is to write and get published in the current market. And what you see through that is that there are a zillion clamoring voices of novice writers trying to get an isekai story that is just gimmicky enough not to get thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
And like that's what the market looks like at the moment. Is isekai stories are the rage, and the secondary market is stories about people writing isekai stories. Hopefully the meta will not go down another level, because that might be a bit much.
It'll end up in a meta death spiral.
I could see that happening. It could totally happen.
Yes.
Anyway, we are liable to be stuck with more of this for a little while yet, but I can feel the arc approaching its end, and that's why I think that they decided to try bringing back Toaru Majutsu no Index, which I haven't actually watched the new season of yet. I mean to, because I've got like a stack of the novels. But that is an orthodox sci-fi fantasy, and the fact that they're going back to the orthodoxy suggests to me that they think they can't just milk the isekai genre forever, because honestly that genre occupies the same space in the market. The people that watched A Certain Magical Index are the 3 years older versions of the people that watch Sword Art Online.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they realize that there's a lifespan on that. Like every trend, there's a lifespan on how long you can keep that stuff up. So yeah. Speaking of isekais, I watched the first 3 episodes of the show about a guy who got reincarnated as a slime.
As did I.
It's isekai garbage, but for some reason it's still fun.
I went in expecting just nothing but pure isekai garbage, and that's exactly what I got. But I'm still enjoying it. It's not like stuck in another world with my smartphone. At least it's self-aware to a degree.
Yeah, like the you get the sense that the guy in the story obviously read a lot of isekai stories or watched a lot of isekai anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's immediately cottons to exactly what is going on and how to exploit it, but he's a slime, so he's got to work his way up from the ground up.
He is the absolute bottom of the barrel to begin with.
I found it very, very entertaining. It's not the best ever, obviously. It's not high art or anything.
No.
You're gonna get that out of it. But as far as light entertainment goes, it's pretty good. So one thing, it's been mentioned in our Discord, but not on the show per se, I don't think, is the anime Goblin Slayer, which I haven't watched, and it's very unlikely I will actually watch it.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason it's very unlikely that I'll actually watch it is that it trades pretty heavily on sort of violent sensationalism.
Yes.
And apparently the manga is even more so, and that there's lots of rape in it as well. But the internet went absolutely nutso over this series. Like, completely bonkers.
Yep.
Like, it's the best thing ever. Look at how edgy it is. And that really seems to be it as well, which I think is embarrassing. Like, that, oh, well, the reason this show is popular is because of the sheer edge of it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like 99% sure that's all it is. Like, it's a really violent show that is really edgy.
And that's it.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really think that there's much more to it than that. But lots and lots of people were really excited about this show for some reason. I don't really understand the reasoning, but there you have it. The part that I found amusing about that was that the most recent episode of the Slime show had the main character accidentally upgraded a tribe of goblins from nameless goblin monster NPCs, basically, to like named characters. Therefore, they all got upgrades and became more human-like, and so on and so forth. And so overnight, the anime community went from goblins are the worst thing ever, let's watch them all be butchered, to we need to have sex with goblins. Like, this it's like a flipping a switch. Like, how much more fickle can you people be? Seriously.
That explains all the memes from last weekend.
Yep, that's what it's from.
I understand now. I don't wish I did, though. Can we go back to before I understood?
No.
I think I like that better.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't get it back.
At any rate, it's a fun sort of series in a goofy, light-hearted kind of way. I wouldn't take it too seriously. I hope it doesn't try and take itself seriously, although that seems to be the end fate for a lot of these things. Hopefully they stay relatively on the level with it and they just have fun with the idea. That's the best thing to do. Like, I was unable to swallow. I was unable to swallow In Another World with my smartphone, where the guy with the smartphone becomes all powerful, and likewise for the Blessed of Einherjar one that just finished, which I will credit it with finishing with a wedding, which is how it's supposed to. Well, and at least with a proposal of marriage, which is how a romance story is supposed to end. But it was still a show about a guy who becomes all powerful because of his smartphone. And in the Slime one, I expect that he's still all powerful.
Oh,
That's basically where this is headed. But he's still a slime.
Yes.
And I think that makes it really amusing. Plus the character is like, he's got a definite character to him. He's not like the blank slates that the other ones are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his death scenes are pretty entertaining in this episode. His key final request is one that there are probably a lot of geeks that can relate to it.
Yes.
Didn't really. I can sort of understand it from the outside since it doesn't have much purchase with me, but it's sort of a famous last request for particularly otaku. So I thought that was entertaining. But yeah, so it's sort of like it's those other stories about the all-powerful wish fulfillment character with a twist to it that makes it a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. And I think that's really what that genre needs. To not take itself too seriously and to have fun with the idea and how absurd the idea actually is, as opposed to taking it seriously the way a lot of them have recently. I think that's the way to go anyway. What else did I try watching? I tried watching SSS Gridman, which, as far as I can tell, is sort of like a giant robot versus kaiju anime, based on one of those. I don't know what you call them. You know how like, sort of like Power Rangers, but not like Power Rangers because Power Rangers is about a Sentai squad.
Yeah.
But they always end up in a giant robot fighting a giant monster at the end.
Cheese.
Like, there's a genre which is basically, it's about a guy who has a giant robot suit, and at the climax of the fight, he always ends up needing the giant robot suit, and he'll fight the giant kaiju, and they will beat things up.
Oh, like Big O and stuff?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure where the borders on the genre are, but at any rate, it's one of those, and I think it's actually based on one of those shows. Like, the names SSSS part stands for like Super Samurai Cyber Squad or something like that.
I really hope it's as cheesy as it sounds, because that actually sounds pretty good.
The thing is, it's not. The anime is not really that cheesy, and in fact, it's almost kind of gritty in a way. And Studio Trigger did it, and they've done a pretty good job of it. Like, visually, it's pretty well done. If anything, there's like almost an impressive amount of detail. How do I say? It reminds me a little bit. At times it reminds me a little bit of Kill la Kill, but not consistently so. In the fact that there's just some things that are ridiculous, but it's also kind of dark. Like the antagonist, apparent, who may or may not be a long-term antagonist, and stories like this are often the case that they're not. Is she's like a real raging sociopath who's gone out to seed, who's also like the most popular girl in school.
I see.
Because she's sort of like one of those two-faced characters. And the school itself is sort of like, this is the closest representation of the sheer griminess of an actual public school that I've seen in an anime. Because if you look at high school in an anime, it's always very clean.
Yes.
Teenagers are not clean.
No.
And high school teachers have many things that they are far more interested in than cleaning up after teenagers. Mm-hmm. So public high schools especially, are almost always grimy, like grimy and untidy. And this depiction of a school building has those notes to it, which I think you don't usually see. And I was sort of surprised at the level of detail. They do some very, very weird sort of cutting directorial techniques in certain conversations to make them more staccato, to change the mood. I don't think that they pull it off very well. I've seen it done before much better than it is here, but I understand what they're going for. So it's a little bit experimental in that sense. A lot of the things are relatively spectacular. There's a little bit of overly conspicuous CG, but in the end, it is still, a corny hero story. But it looks really quite nice. There's a certain amount of like mortal weight to it because, characters, I mean, the minor characters, because they only appear as friends of another character in the early stages of the story, they die quite definitively, though you don't see it on screen in the conventional sense. There's still a weight of mortality to it very early on that is not in most stories of its type. Mm-hmm. So it sort of hangs in this weird sort of place between a serious giant robot story and the slightly goofier kind, because some of the characters are clearly goofy. Like there's this guy who calls himself Samurai Caliber and carries like 4 swords across his back, which get caught every time he tries to walk through a doorway. And he stumbles into the doorway and falls over and then staggers through. Like this is just how he goes through doorways.
Oh dear.
But yeah. So it's got a weird sort of atmosphere to it. I'm not really sure where it's going, and I'm kind of interested to see what they do with it because it's so weird. But I think it's worth a look anyway. It's so strange. The other one I watched was Ms. Vampire Who Lives in My Neighborhood, which I would just say don't watch it.
The title does not paint a particularly good picture.
No, it does not. And it almost feels wrong to call it bad because it's not bad in the conventional sense. It's just uninteresting. Like
bland.
It's so heavily tread ground, basically. Like, the vampire is obviously a little girl.
Of course.
She's been about 13 years old for the last 360 years. And there's basically the main character is a girl called Akari who loves dolls. Like, even really creepy ones. Like, she's just completely monomaniacally in love with collecting dolls. And basically this vampire girl is her ideal doll because she's full size and alive and, unchanging, perfect porcelain skin, so on and so forth. So she's basically head over heels for this girl, who is a vampire and is basically far more afraid of her than she is afraid of the vampire. So it's got a little bit of comedy value to it, but it feels like it's too overdone, really. And it's like, well, this is essentially cute girls doing cute things with heavy yuri overtones again.
Of course it is.
But yeah, so it's just not great. Like, I found that I was able to enjoy it after about 3 glasses of wine, but before that, it's pretty much a no sell. Yeah,
cute girls doing cute things with lesbians.
Yeah.
Nah.
Adding lesbians into the mix seems to be the popular thing these days. And I can sort of understand why, in the sense that, number one, it appeals to the target demographic. And number two, it's just really hard to... It allows you to avoid... Because the idea of a Class S relationship is pretty heavily established, particularly in the consciousness of the anime watching community in Japan. The Class S relationship being a romantic relationship between girls that is basically just fooling around puppy love and is expected to disappear and expire as they mature.
Right.
It's basically a phase where young girls flirt in lesbians with other girls. It's apparently it's an actual phenomenon that is part of like the culture of young girls in Japan. But at any rate, that because that's already got sort of a texture in the public consciousness, and because it's considered to be sort of a cute childish thing people grow out of, you can write it tidily because you know it doesn't have long-term implications.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a male-female relationship has dramatic, often disruptive implications on a plot, so you can't put that in there. But if you think that that it is marketable for the characters to be seen as romantic creatures because that's what the target demographic wants, the easiest way to do that is to implement a girl romance into the story, because that does not rule out a heterosexual romance because of the structure of the Class S relationship, and it sort of instantiates them as characters with a romantic dimension, which is basically, this is a cynical way of having romantic female characters without having to have like the dramatic disruption of males present. That's my take on it anyway, because it's sort of emerging as a broad-ranging phenomenon throughout the writing of these sort of like seasonal trash anime, basically. The filler anime. The ones that make up the gaps in the viewing cycle.
Yep. It seems like this whole season is just filler, really. It's just...
Yeah, there is a lot of things I haven't watched, and like there are some things have been proclaimed to be quite good, but I haven't really gotten into them yet. Or at least I haven't discovered them. I haven't looked very carefully at which ones are being lauded this time round. And in fact, the only one that has been sincerely lauded that I've seen has been the Goblin Slayer one, and I avoided that specifically because it was lauded.
Yeah.
In enough detail, I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that it's lauded in the same spirit as Attack on Titan.
Ugh.
Which is, oh man, this is violent and action-packed.
It's edge.
Yeah. It's so edgy you could cut yourself.
Yep.
But, which would also be edgy. But, yeah. I'll leave my week there, I think.
All right.
Yeah. We're over 2 hours, so we should take a break.
Wow, we really are.
Yeah, we're at like an hour 40, hour 45. We need to go to a break now. So we'll be right back. And we're back.
Yes.
And yep. So I'm probably going to be pushing us along this last segment because unfortunately I need to hurry away. But yeah, as soon as the show's over, I need to get rolling and get going because I got work to do, and unfortunately, it needs doing before daylight tomorrow. So,
Oh joy! And I suppose it's one of those cases where they've told you at sunset.
Well, no, it's one of those cases where I've got to get in touch with people that I know are awake at nighttime. But yeah, I need to get them to talk back to me and figure stuff out before sunrise, and people start waking up and getting to the office tomorrow morning after church. So. Yeah, it's one of those weird confuzzle scenarios. But yeah, so I will unfortunately be moving pretty quick this last segment. So, Vol, rest of your week, do you have any?
Nope.
Okay. So I'll go real fast during my week. I had about 5-ish days where there wasn't a whole lot of work to do. It was building up towards this big hump of work I've just hit. So people have been pestering me to make progress in FGO, so I ate all my apples and made progress in FGO.
Yeah, you kind of blitzed through that.
Yeah, I went through, I think I was somewhere in Roma, near the start of it, and, don't remember what happened in Rome. I wasn't very interested in the story. I'm not a big Nero fan. Made it through Rome, went to Oceanland, got drunk with Francis Drake. That was pretty interesting. That was fun times. And then there was London, and I wish Mordred got a bit more to do than she actually did, but London was okay, although it felt more like a setup chapter. And now I'm in Marika.
The London chapter, for the most part, for me, kind of fell a bit flat too.
Most of the writing is a bit flat. It starts to really pick up momentum in E Pluribus Unum, and it sort of hits the point of actually things now matter in Camelot.
Yeah.
London gave me the very clear, this is a setup chapter vibe the whole way through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was. London serves the purpose of basically ending the villain of the week thing. Well, it doesn't really end it, since it sort of carries on into America, but it ends the low stakes sort of thing. If you can have a low stakes in a scenario where humanity's already been annihilated, they're doing a sort of a transition phase at that point.
Hey, the stakes could be higher. Liz could be preparing to sing.
Things are now going to be sort of like a broader challenge than just drop down into a town and beat up everything that moves and move on.
Yeah.
But some characters are fun. Some were kind of just there. Asterios gets best boy MVP.
Asterios, he's so adorable, and is weird. He's pretty rubbish as far as servants go, but
he's best Minotaur.
No. He's one of the servants famous for being able to solo things, even in
right.
I've seen videos of him soloing bosses in Camelot.
Good grief!
Yeah,
he's best
crazy.
Minotaur.
He's
a 1-star servant.
Yeah.
So wow. I liked him. I liked him and Uriale and what they did and their little scenes together. They were fun. The Ditz was back. Orion showed up again.
Yeah.
You really, really deeply dislike Orion.
I don't know what it really is. It's just something deep down in me just is repulsed by everything about her.
In fact,
everything about the Artemis Orion Wombo combo just goes no.
Incidentally, what exactly is Orion? Is he a teddy bear, or is he a little wombat, or I don't know?
I don't know. He's some kind of plushie.
Yeah,
I think he's a bear. Basically, he's a bear that was. He's a bear because he was summoned as a servant, but Artemis usurped the servant container and incarnated herself that way, and so now you're stuck with this mascot as the.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's another servant like that as well, where there's sort of an inversion. I can't remember the name though. Some artist.
Yeah.
Her father's the actual artist, but she is also an artist, but controls the main body, whereas her father's like a little octopus that sort of floats around behind her.
That's kind of weird.
What you call it? But yeah, poor Atalante. You know, people see their heroes and realize they're not as cool as they thought they were. I just feel bad for Atalante seeing
Yeah, she got a real dose of reality there.
She's just like, I've been praying to this ditz the whole time. Just give me a minute. She handles it pretty well, but I felt really bad for her. It's like, oh no. I'm sorry, Fox Girl, come back.
Yeah, it's never a good thing to actually meet your gods.
Especially if they're that one.
Yeah.
Gosh, she's a ditz. I don't know why she just offends me on a core level. She's just so dumb. I don't like Artemis. Orion, pick your name for her. She has like 50 of them. But I just don't like her. So, yeah. And then Tamamo and Kentoki showed up at the end of London because reasons for like half a chapter and dueled with Nikola Tesla. And then that was a thing that happened. And yeah, they didn't do anything notable in the story other than show up and duel Tesla.
Let's face it, more or less those two showed up and did a Statler and Wolof skit. That was their whole thing.
Yeah, they're basically there as comic relief. But the thing is that they're super heavy hitters. They're like high tier legendary figures compared to most of the ones that you deal with. So yeah, they appear and they're basically the sixth ranger, so to speak.
Yeah.
That comes in and basically OPs all over everything.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting. But I'm mostly caught up to in the ballpark of where we're at now, at least. I'm only a chapter or two behind now. So I'm in Murica, and I haven't made any progress in Murica aside from the first mission, so I don't have to watch the opening prologue if the game decides to update.
Yeah.
So, which is, as I found out, is quite annoying.
Extremely.
So I did so I did the first mission, and yeah, cleaned up the interface a lot, and just kind of left it there. I went around, did every single free quest on the map to get court so I can roll for Waifu Cleo. I got to get the super duper high school Egyptian pharaoh of shampoo commercials because I need to.
You just need to.
that's certainly an explanation. Yes.
We'll go with that.
That's about as deep as you get when you get a dartboard waifu where you just pick one because reasons. It don't go a whole lot deeper. It's that or Dick Wizard.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I'm not going to roll for Dick Wizard other than what I've got at the time. And I fully intend to blow everything going for Cleo.
You should totally roll at least for Dick Wizard. A little bit.
I will not save for Dick Wizard. I will roll with what I got at the time, but I am not going to actively accrue resources for Dick Wizard.
I'm really, really torn about that. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like, I really don't want to. I don't. I super don't.
But you kind of need him.
Yeah, it's just that he so distorts the meta that to not have him is a disproportionate disadvantage. I mean, everybody will have him, I guess, so I could use somebody else's. But I'd rather have options than be forced to pick him every time.
Yeah.
I'm currently forced to pick Waver every time.
Yeah.
Although there are still times you would pick Waver, because Waver's a universal tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not in the same way that Merlin is, though. Merlin's just a tool.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, that wizard. The other reason I'm picking Cleo is because everybody was... There was a very split contingent on whether she was any good or worth it or not. And then I looked at her animations and I'm like, she's just like a shampoo commercial. I've got to get the sparkly hair.
Yeah, the thing that she's famous for is being beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, that's her thing.
Also the big nose. And Mark Antony.
Yeah. Well, she literally attacks with hair sparkles and a snack.
Hair sparkles and a snack. Right.
Yeah. So hair sparkles won me over. So I'm like, okay, yep, we're dumping it all on this because reasons.
I think
mostly just to spite the game because I don't want to roll for Dick Wizard.
Well, that's the best reason to roll on anything, in my opinion.
Spite?
Because well, not spite, but because you like the character or the character's art or whatever. Like, it's a much better reason than the meta. I'm just a little bit gun shy because because I've played through Camelot and I know that Camelot is a step up in difficulty and that Babylonia is a bigger step up in difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of scared about how I'm going to work it. I don't really need to be, because I have a really strong arts pairing of Squirtorio and Tamamo.
Yep.
So I know that I can handle it using those two. But
actually, that raises an
my
interesting
brother
question. When we go on to the next story arc, what does the difficulty do then?
it's a spike,
Right.
another spike, because the gimmick fights they aren't just gimmick fights inside. They are gimmick fights that limit your roster.
Right.
Because like some of them are only vulnerable to servants of certain alignments and just can ruffle all over ones that aren't.
Okay. So you
So
need
you
to...
have to take an alignment in addition to the type. So fights can end up like Ari's fight where he almost got wrecked because Drake's not vulnerable to Inanimate Leash for whatever reason.
Yeah, just this one random fight against like some 200 and something thousand HP Drake. I'm like, oh, that's not that big a deal. I've run over 200k HP servants all the time, and just happened to have Gil with me for some other mob that was in the fight. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just this Inanimate Leash will kill her, and Drake just didn't take any bonus damage from it. I'm like, that hit for like 20,000 less than it should have. What's the dealio going on here? And I went to her wiki page, and she is missing the tag weak to Enuma Elish.
There's not many heroes that, or servants rather, that kind
There's
of...
like 5.
It is just 5, is it?
Well, there's
Wow.
more than that. There's
Well, there
more
are
than
5
that.
human ones
Yeah,
that just look like normal dudes.
ones that are usually ones that are from other universes don't have the same sort of vulnerability like the Shikis don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. And
Void Shiki doesn't, but
no, I think
Void-
I think it's both of the Shikis don't have it, but don't have a vulnerability to it. But the ones that don't are usually ones that are radical pioneers of some sort. Like because Drake was a explorer, seafarer, she doesn't have that weakness, for instance. So but the selection is semi-arbitrary because some ones that you think wouldn't, but on that basis, are weak against it. So yeah, nobody's really 100% sure how it's decided.
But yeah, Drake just decided to live through the big red whooshy whoosh, and then punched Gil, killed him, and killed somebody else on the team. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I got the Glad and Gladiator here to come save the day. So that's what his job is, to sit in that back row and just, if anything goes south, come Glad and Gladiator over people's faces. And Herc is very good with that, especially with Mashu.
Herc is just outrageously good.
I just keep Herc and Mashu in the back row, mostly because I'm up as I play through all this. And just whenever something happens to go bad, and it's only gone bad about 2 or 3 times where the front row has died, usually because I didn't read whatever was coming up, or I didn't look at the level of the quest, somebody falls over. Just Herc and Mashu come in, and they'll just pick up the slack of whatever was going on.
Yeah, that's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, I usually use Ku for that
Yeah.
because he's like unkillable.
Contrary to what Carnival Phantasm makes you believe.
There was a video of somebody soloing like event Ku Alter with the Ku Alter had like 700 something thousand HP with just regular old Ku.
Yep, the Ku Croach cannot be killed.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
I'm caught up mostly. I have servants that are usable now. If you actually need to borrow them for some reason, I think my Drake, my Void Shiki, and one of my other characters I had, my Jean, are all up to level 80. So they're all at usable level now, at least.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a Jean.
Sometimes you just need something that's going to tank the world.
Yeah. Jean is the answer to most problems that I expect to be difficult. Like, oh, there's a big demon pillar there. Let me just bring Jean. That'll fix all the problems.
Jean's basically the ideal solution to any situation where you know that you're going to have to eat a pile of damage to the face.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a surefire solution to it.
Yeah. But So yeah, I stopped at America on purpose too because I was running with the levels of the servants I had before. I had like Shiki and John were my only people above 60 at the time, and I figured I'd be hitting a level block pretty soon, probably near the end of America if I didn't go level some dudes up. So I just went into the Halloween event and just farmed up a ton of Ascension mats and Ghost Lanterns for skill ups on Shiki.
Yeah.
Because waifus.
Because the waifus.
But yeah. Also, Vlad owes me some time back. I think I ate like 30 of those apples trying to farm the last copy of Halloween Princess from him.
Yeah, some people didn't get it and found all events, so count yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that 0.8% drop rate from the reports I was seeing on that guy.
Yeah, it was a lie.
If the 30 apples was the average it took for people to get that drop, that's not good.
I got one in the end, but I got it by complaining to Fern that I wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
Same. That's
Then
exactly what happened.
Immediately got it back afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't get any.
I had just eaten like my 25th or 30th apple or something. I'm like, okay, Fern, this is getting stupid. I've been punching this stupid vampire wannabe in the face, like, for hours now. And then as soon as I finish typing that out, it drops for me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, FGO's been caught up. And that's really all I did with the free time. I said I would catch up eventually, and I done got caught it up. So there. I did throw a rando ticket at the banner, and I didn't get Jalter, but I did get regular John. Again. So I have a level 2 John now for NP.
I threw one as well. I was hoping to get a second Jolter because, hey, Noble Phantasm 2 Jolter is better than regular Noble Phantasm 1 Jolter by a significant margin. But, yeah, no such luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a mediocre CE. That's all I got. I threw one ticket at it.
Yeah, I'm not going to sink any quartz in it.
Yeah, no.
No, I don't want to save for Dick Wizard, but there's a good chance that I'll throw some quartz.
Yeah. Anywho, what's next?
We have what y'all posted in news. Me and Fern looked for, like...
No, I don't have anything.
We don't have any news. Okay, I can say we start with one small thing. Just a reminder that PAX Australia is next week. And I'm not going to be there, and it makes me sad.
I'm not going to be there either because I don't want to go unless Fern's going.
Yeah.
I find that sort of thing far, far too tiring to do by myself.
It's a pretty big deal to go on your own. It's actually the same. There's it looks like the panel lineup this year is not half bad.
Yeah, I'm not really under the impression it's like remarkably good either.
Well, there's the absence of certain things which I think just improves it by not being there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Never mind. At least you can watch a good chunk of the panels on Twitch. So there's always that option.
Yeah, if I really, really... yeah, I don't know. I like going there. Like, for me, it's more or less an opportunity to look at things and to go shopping. Like, it's a 3-day shopping binge for me.
Spend way too much money.
Yeah.
Like, if I know I'm going to go to PAX, I save all year and then go on a shopping binge. Like, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
I've noticed a significant increase in my savings as I've not gone to any conventions in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same.
You bought a computer.
Yeah, that was kind of my big spend for last year. Yeah.
Oh
my god.
Conventions are bad for your wallet.
What on earth is that? I just got Susano. I guess we need semi-deities running around now. Yeah, so that's just a reminder. If you haven't got your tickets yet and you want to go, there are still tickets available. And, of course, the PAX Pokemon League is still doing their thing as well this year, but I'm not involved in it because I'm not there.
Yeah.
When are you next planning to go?
I'm going to make a push to go next year. And hopefully things work out. Instead of,
it's a long way away.
Yeah. Like this year, I can kind of tell. I came into the year and I said, "Yeah, everything's going to catch fire and burn at that time of year." And sure enough, there it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Back-
guess maybe it's just because I was expecting everything to go horribly. It just did, but yeah.
Back before I got out of college, I could predict these things easier and plan my expenditures throughout the year much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then work happened.
Yeah.
And then adulting happened. And then bills and insurance bills.
Yep.
Insurance
Yep.
bills are basically bills that you pay to try and keep other bills that you may or may not get smaller.
You've got to pay your
Insurance
bookie.
bills, like, ugh.
Yeah.
I would very much like to take the calculated risk and not have some of these insurance bills, but the government says no.
Well, as far as like car insurance goes, like I appreciate other people having third party. Like that seems like a good bet. Like legal mandates, I'm not so keen on legal mandates generally speaking, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I can stomach liability, but even that's still like $800
Yeah. Yep. It is.
in American dollars.
Oh boy.
Ugh.
All right. So yeah. Yeah. Much as I'd love to go down there, like I'd love to go down and do, the annual Weiss Schwarz tutorial. I'd like to sit down and do some D&D stuff if I could go, but yeah, we'll aim for next year.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, there isn't any other news. There's nonsense from Ubisoft, but I can't really get enthused about that because it's kind of dumb and hypocritical.
I didn't really see anything that was particularly interesting and worth talking about.
No.
There's not really a lot happening right now, as far as I can tell.
It's
Most of the news places are doing filler columns as well. So
yeah, it's the pre-Christmas doldrums.
Yeah, at the point Lindsey Jones shows up on Tech Raptor's front page, it's a slow news week.
Yeah,
that's harsh.
That is a bit harsh.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's harsh.
Yeah, we've got some big things coming up. Like we've got Cyber Monday coming up for all your buying junks needs. Because commercialism, ho.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, that would be great. I could buy some stuff, but then I'm like, but even if so, like, when would I have time to play it?
Yeah. November 14 seems to be the big day where everything's going to kick off again because you've got Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out, you've got Fallout 76, you've got another expansion for Ark for people who still play Ark. Yay.
That game still won't run on my computer, even after getting a new one.
Yeah, the optimization for that game has never been a priority.
Like, that thing won't run on a 1060. That's kind of impressive with how bad your optimization is at that point.
Because dinosaurs now. Everyone loves the dinosaurs. Oh boy.
We have a pet dodo in that game. Its name is Volacel.
It died, I think.
Did it die?
I don't know.
Do that.
Dodos just die in that game. You leave them alone long enough and they just die.
I've seen a lot of Ark streams get advertised in my Twitter feed lately, and people claiming that they're going to farm wyverns, and I'm like,
No.
I've had enough of wyverns.
Wyverns in that game are a big ordeal.
It's like, oh, I'm going to go steal me some wyvern eggs and hatch me some wyverns. It's like, the world does not need more wyverns.
Yeah.
Didn't we have Sasuke Kirijo save France from those a few times? A few thousand times across all the FGO accounts?
Any FGO player that has been through Orleans they've had enough of wyverns. Their wyvern tank is full.
You get to Ocean Land and you see Wyvern Isle and you're like, no, nothing good is on that island.
You start having flashbacks, breathing heavily, hyperventilating.
It's like, we just got done with wyverns. No more.
Oh boy. In that case, we might start looking at wrapping up.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I'd say we call it short, but it's really actually the correct length.
You say correct length, but what you actually mean by that is long.
Yes, I do.
Well, we're at 2 hours now. We're supposed to be a 2.5 hour show.
Yeah.
But yeah. So heads up for those of you on the East Coast. Unless I'm wrong, okay, it's not this week. It's next week. Next week will be normal, but the next week, the week of the 3rd to the 4th, should be our daylight savings time, unless somebody told me the wrong date. So if you're on Murica daylight savings times and you switch over at that point, that's when. Then the show will be at 9:30 instead of 10:30.
Daylight savings, it's still a stupid idea.
Aren't there like tiny pockets in the US that don't do it though?
All the Indian reservations pretty much universally ignore it, and select districts just say no, we don't do DST at all.
Right.
Like there's a huge section in like I think Arkansas or something that just says no. Like just this whole quarter of the state just doesn't do daylight savings time.
Anyway.
So yeah. Yeah. Email topic of the week is: was there news? Did you see stuff you wanted to talk about? Because we ain't got any.
No,
there really
It's just
wasn't.
not- there really isn't. Like it's just one of those quiet periods, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
Most of the stuff that's carrying on is you know, it's more social justice crap and more discussions about the precise details of the boob physics in Dead or Alive and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of course. I suppose it wouldn't be Dead or
Yeah.
Alive if they weren't talking about boobs.
I still think DMC4 cutscenes for the special edition had the best breast physics of all time.
Oh dear.
So yes. There's really nothing, folks. Closing comments go.
Man, do something, games industry. Just do a thing.
Yeah, give us something to talk about other than ourselves.
Yes.
Like, there's supposed to be, like, I remember way back in the day, TB was trying to give advice on how to do a podcast, and he said, don't talk about yourself. We talk almost exclusively about ourselves.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah, games industry, nobody cares about Ruby Rose's voice actor. Everybody that follows voice acting knows she's terrible.
Anywho, take us out.
So I think we're done, folks. I guess we'll see y'all next week-ish. Yeah, I'm double checking to be sure I'm right on daylight savings time, and I think I am. So I think we're at the same time next week. We'll see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye. Ugh.